shit. Got him! I think I just got the sickest photo of you. Yeah. It's like ripped up. It's a business card, it's kind of ripped in half. I don't know if you want to fold it up and put it if you want. But if you get in touch with me, I'll send it over to you. That's disgusting, bro. I got caught on the inside of one of those. Ooh! Yeah, bro. I just
literally just full on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I come up and they're like, never felt like this before in my life. Another one.
Yeah, yeah, bro. So I just got back from the sunrise surf down at Maroubra, and I'm just sifting through all the photos, and I thought I'd do like a screen recording and show you how I go about editing one of my photos. So this is one of my favourite ones from the session this morning, so let's dive on in. The exposure on this photo is generally okay. I'm not going to mess with that. The first thing that I normally go into is the curves, so I'm just going to up the highlights because I want to make everything a bit brighter. The shadows, I'll up tiny amount, although they're pretty much good if you look at the histogram. Then it goes to the midtones. You just want to make a bit of contrast. And then I always add extra points in between the midtones and the highlights and the midtones and the shadows, just to give a little more contrast. So you can see it just with the top of the wave there in the sky. And then again, you can see it here with the wave. After I've done the curves, the next thing that I always go into is a radial mask. So I'm going to draw this out and place it around the surfer, and then I'm just going to invert it. And the first thing I do is turn up the sharpness just to make him pop out a bit more. But the main reason that I use this is just to up the shadows so that he pops out of the image more. Do it to an amount where it doesn't start to look fake, because obviously that's too much, so I go just below that, around there. And then once that's done, the next step will be the HSL curves. So with the reds, there's not really any reds in this. Oranges will obviously be his skin there, so up it and then up the saturation as well. The same goes for the yellow, it'll probably be just on him, yeah, so up that as well. And then greens, normally you can get greens in the waves, but it just depends on what the camera sensor is picking up. In this one there's none, but that means that there'll definitely be loads in the aqua. So if I just mess around with the lumens to show you, that's how much you can change. I kind of like it up, and then if I just whack the saturation to about, I don't know, 55, maybe turn down the hue just to give a bit of a more greeny effect to it. Yeah, that's looking nice. And then the blue, push that up quite a bit, up the saturation a little bit. Obviously this is all personal preference. And for the purple, I found that with surf photography, it's usually the bottom of the white water from the lip of the wave, that's the purple. Only a tiny amount there. Then once this is done, the next thing that I kind of experiment with is the clarity. Just kind of push that up. That's looking really nice. Then it goes to the white balance. I just want to kind of emphasize the greenness, so I'm just going to +3 is nice, and maybe like -1 on the tint. That's looking pretty nice. And then the final thing for me is the vibrance, and I'm just going to turn that up a little bit as well. And this is the final edit. You can do a bit of a vignette if you want, just to kind of give that dreamy feel. But yeah, so I'll show you the before and after side by side. I always try to underexpose images when I'm doing surf photography, because it's easier to bring the shadows up than it is to try and clip the highlights. And as you can see here, it just works perfectly. So yeah, that's how I go about editing my photos.